All right, everyone, welcome back to today's episode of Words of the Wise. Today I have Chief Medina from Wethersfield PD in Connecticut. Almost 30 years, about 30 years and 3 days. And he's been the chief of police for the last 4.5 years. He has a master's in criminal justice. And I said to him before we recorded that you were a former U.S. Marine, and he goes, once a Marine, always a Marine. So, welcome to the show, Chief Medina. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Greatly appreciate this
Uh,
opportunity. Thank you.
Of course, I'm looking forward to it. So, I want to dive into your background and you can share anything that you want about yourself and your career. But the first question I'm going to ask you before we do that is what is one fun fact about yourself that maybe people would be surprised to learn?
That I like to draw. I
Oh,
like to.
wow. Nice. I love that. I used to draw when I was a kid too, and I haven't done it in a really long time. So maybe this is my sign to pick that back up. So
Well,
give us a little bit of background into your career.
I started my career in 1996 with the Southern Connecticut State University Police Department. So my career has expanded, like we said, the last 29 years and 364 days or 61 days. Um, so I started on the university campus of Southern Connecticut State University. I was there for about a little less than a year. And then I went to the Connecticut State Police where I spent the next 21 years. And that is where I actually made my career in policing that defined where I was going to go.
Mm.
As a young trooper, I spent first 8 years on patrol. I really didn't, look to get promoted anytime soon. I enjoyed being out on the road and on the highways and in the communities. After that, I went to major crime, and there I spent 7 years in major crime as a detective. And during that time period, that was we had some of the major cases in the state of Connecticut that I was involved in. One of the major ones was the Cheshire home invasion,
Mm.
um, where we had the Pettit family here in Connecticut. Their family was murdered. Dr. Pettit's family was murdered. So that career in major crime for me really brought me into investigations. And after that 7 year period, I decided to become a supervisor sergeant and go back to the road. But the state police had different plans for me. They sent me to internal affairs. So that gave me the opportunity to learn the administrative side of the policing. I
Mm.
had the criminal side, but now the administrative side, seeing what goes on behind the scenes in police departments when dealing with other employees, your peers, doing investigations on that side. Um, and I did that for 2 years, went back to major crime as a sergeant, and then became a lieutenant, um, taking over Central District Major Crime for the Connecticut State Police. Um, and shortly thereafter, a couple of years after being a major crime, I was sent to Troop K in Colchester. It was a country troop to be the troop commander. So now I got to oversee an actual troop. I was overseeing specialized units, and now I'm overseeing a troop. So my background, it kind of covers a lot when it came to the state police. I had a lot of opportunities which I took advantage of, and that's what helped me get to this point. So upon retiring from the Connecticut State Police, I had the opportunity to become the assistant chief in the city of Hartford, the capital city of here, Connecticut, where I was here, the assistant chief for a little less than 4 years, overseeing a approximately 500 personnel department for the capital city, which is a huge undertaking because being somebody who's an outsider going into a major police department, and you have to build that rapport, you have to build that acceptance, and that goes into how I run my department now. It's not just based on community, it is based on community relations, but it's also internal relations, internal legitimacy. And
Mm.
how do you build that as an outsider, somebody who's by himself, which is huge. And that got me to this point where the town of Wethersfield was going through a little bit of turmoil at the time when I was hired. And that's why I was fortunate to get the opportunity to come here and run this police department, and making significant change, changing a culture. And changing a culture takes about 5 to 6 years. So I'm in my fifth year now here. We're getting that swing to where we built the internal legitimacy. We already had the external legitimacy. Now we're just bringing them together and we're making the Wethersfield a very marketable police department as we talk about recruitment and retention. So that's the bulk of my career in the short version of it, but it spans a lot of different areas that I was able to touch on, working on a college campus, working in the state, which covers 3 districts, working specialized units in the state, going to a major city, being the number 2 in a major city, now being the chief of a town that abuts the south of Hartford. So I didn't get too far. I just got over the border to a town that now I oversee that's to the south of Hartford.
It sounds to me like every role that you had prepared you for where you are today and gave you a different perspective. I don't know if I've ever had a chief say that it takes 5 to 6 years to change a culture. So I really appreciate you kind of putting that timeline on it because I think that it's human nature for us to all want things to happen immediately, but for you to say, hey, like it's gonna take time. And as long as we're doing the right things, we're going to see positive change. And I know that you've had some real return on investment of that time with the things that you guys are seeing in, recruitment and retention. So I want to circle back to that in a little bit. But my question for you is, you said coming in, building trust, especially as an outsider coming in. How do you do that? What are some of the tactics that you used, or maybe the philosophy that you have for building trust within the organization?
It's something that's very simple, but it's something very hard for some individuals to do. And I'm sure you heard the saying, like it's management by walking around,
Mm,
by getting out of the office and getting to know your personnel one on one. And what I did, and I did in Hartford, and I do here, is go on ride alongs, spend a shift with an officer and a cruiser one on one, go to roll calls and be visible. They have to get to know you and you have to get to know them. Um, and that's the biggest thing, that build that rapport, build that trust. Because the biggest thing when you hop in a police car with an officer, you're a chief. They don't want you in the cruiser. So the question is, how do you get me out of the cruiser? Tell me what I want to know. Tell me about the
mm,
police department. Tell me what's going on. Tell me what I need to know from the bottom up.
mm,
Uh, I'm not one to surround myself with yes individuals, people. I want someone who's going to be respectful, but tell me how it is. And if that's coming from the line officer, so be it. But then that gives me a better understanding of what's going on within the department and the culture of the department and what I need to change. So I always ask them three questions. What are we doing right? What are we doing okay? And what do we need to fix?
yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Okay is okay. What we're doing all right, can we make it better? If not, we'll leave it alone. If we're doing it okay, how do we enhance it? If we need to fix it, now I want you to tell me how we can fix it. So empowering my officers from the bottom up, left to right, and because this isn't my department. Understand that. This is our department. And I always tell them too, I said, this is your department when things are going good. This is our department when things are a little bit weary right now. We need to be in the public eye. It's my department when things aren't going right. And I need to get in front of my men and women. So letting them know that I have their back, but also empowering them and giving them the ability to help make decisions within the agency is huge. But I have to gain their trust first, and that's talking to them, getting to know them one on one. It's easier in a smaller department. The size of Hartford, it took a little bit of time, but that was just going to roll call, being seen, and walking the hallways and talking to them as just in the hallway. And believe it or not, that's where I got most of my information.
Wow. And I appreciate you saying empowering your people because that's what I was thinking as you were saying that, like empowering them to have a voice and to speak the truth. I love that you said you don't want to be around yes people. I don't think that anyone grows by being around people who are just going to tell you what you want to hear. You need the people who are going to tell you how it is.
I don't know everything. My job is to know a lot about a little. I mean, excuse me, know a little about a lot.
Mm,
It's my commander's job to know a lot about a little. And
yeah.
they advise me because I'm overseeing the entire department. That's why we have the specialized units. That's why we have our commanders. And for the athletes, I was a collegiate athlete. I played baseball in college. I equated. There's no difference to running a police department than is a sports team. Who's your CEO? Who's your general manager? Usually the town manager. Who's the head coach? That's me.
Hmm.
Who are my assistant coaches? Those are my commanders, right? Who are my captains? Those are my sergeants. Now I got my players. So my sergeants are my specialty coaches. They could be the captains, or the senior guy would be the captain, and my sergeants are the specialty coaches. And if you look at that perspective, then they know their roles. Um, and if one fails, then we all fail.
Yeah.
We're a team.
Yeah, Jess is going to be smiling because she's heard me talk about this so many times that I draw so many parallels between you guys and professional athletics, and you describing that is so up my alley. So I'm sure Jess is sitting here shaking her head because I talk her ear off about the comparison. So thank you for that.
So true. And coming in as an outsider, I'm curious what challenges you faced and then how you overcame those challenges.
Well, as an outsider, everyone's skeptical. As police officers, we all are skeptical of each other. And as an outsider, the biggest thing they do is everyone does is we research who the person is coming in. So I know right off the beginning that they're looking to see who I am. They're calling fellow officers, blah, blah, blah. Everyone has an opinion. And I can't take it for what it is. I just come in and say, this is who I am. This is what I'm looking to do, or we are looking to do with your help. And let's make it happen. But the biggest thing is, like I said at the beginning, knowing your people, identifying the right person for the right job. Round peg, round hole, regardless of their past or whatever, we have a job to do. And if that person fits that role, then you put them in that role. It helps them succeed. And again, it gets back to empowerment,
Mm.
letting them be a part of that team that we spoke about. So, so coming in as an outsider was just basically listening, learning, getting to know them, because just because we're in policing, we're in law enforcement, doesn't mean every agency runs the same. As I said, stated earlier, this is my fourth police department. Not one has been the same. We might enforce the same rules and regulations, but each has its own entity, its own culture, and you need to understand that. If you do not understand that, you're going to fail. And that's learning your people. I'm always going to keep circling back to that. Learn your people, get to know their strengths and their weaknesses, put them in the right positions, but have them have the ability to walk in and have that conversation with me. Um, you know, there's the saying out there, you have the closed door policy, you have your open door policy. I call it a screen door policy that I have. It's not open, it's not closed. If you want to talk to me, the question is, did you go through the proper chain of command? And if it got to the point where it needs to get to me, then so be it. If I initiate the conversation in the hallway or something like that, then so be it. Tell me what you need to tell me, because I'm the one initiating it.
Mm.
And I'm empowering you to tell me, hey, what are we doing? Or I go on roll calls and any questions. This is what we're doing. Transparency is huge. Letting them know what we're doing at the command level. It's hard to do that because there's so much we do, and they don't understand that. They just think that we sit in our office and don't do a lot between budgeting and hiring individuals and benefits, and there's a lot that goes on. So I try to go to roll call. This is what we're working on as a command staff. We're updating our policies. We're going through, but we just went through budget season. So what did we ask for? What do you want? What do you need? How do I ask for it? How do we rank it? And put it back on them. Well, chief, the biggest thing, what they want, new cruisers, right? Everyone wants cruisers. That's the biggest thing. I ask for that automatically. I take that off the table because I know that's exactly what's going to happen, and I try to do it. But what else can we do? And outside of that, our gym. What do you want in a gym? What do we need to get for health and wellness? For exercise purposes, we need a new treadmill. We just got a Peloton. We got weights. So everything they need to succeed, I try to get, because technically I'm like the provider, even though I'm leading from behind because I'm trying to see what they need to get them to where we need to go.
Mm.
And I'm just transparent about it. And that's how I gain their trust, is tell me what you want.
Think
Oh,
transparency and time, like we said in the beginning, the time, it takes some time to get there. And I think you being with other departments, and correct me if I'm wrong, you may have been able to implement certain things from each step that you've taken to build the team that you have today. Would you agree?
I have. And yeah, working in the Connecticut State Police gave me the foundation
Mhm.
of the patrol officer, the detective, the internal investigations to deal with employees, individuals who have issues in the department. So that rounded me there, investigation wise, admin wise, policy procedure. Going to Hartford helped me with leadership.
Mm.
Going in and being an outsider, going to Hartford, that's when you're talking about seasoned veterans who are already deputy chiefs, captains, lieutenants working in a major city. And here's the outsider becoming now the assistant chief, the number two in command, saying, hey, so actually, I learned from them. And I credit them to this day. I tell them, I said, look, you made me who I am to lead this department. State police gave me the foundation. You helped me with the leadership portion of it. And in turn, I did the same for them because we all bring the ideas to the table, um, which now I bring here to Wethersfield.
Mm.
So you have to be open-minded, willing to listen, learn from the people around you. But that doesn't mean that you're weak, because when you do have to make a decision, and the decision is mine at the end of the day, good, bad, or indifferent, and I have to stand by that.
I wanted to circle back to when you're in internal affairs. Were you able to identify one of the biggest reasons for behavioral issues? Do you think that it was more internal stress or external stress or kind of a combination of the two?
I think you got to take the individual agency
Mm,
with that question. The state police is such a big agency. It's over close to 1,280 troopers. That's a broad, and they cover three different districts. There's 12 different troops. Each troop is different. Like I said earlier, even though I said I worked for four police departments, I worked at approximately five different troops throughout my career. That's five different police departments.
right.
If you think about it, um, learning each one, and each one has their own dynamic. So some are just extremely busy. The highway troops are extremely busy. They're go, call to call to call, which is a stress issue.
Hmm.
It causes a lot of stress. Um, and that could build up and you have a couple behavior issues, I would say, when dealing with the public. Then you could go to a country troop where it's not as busy as a highway troop. But what's the issue there? Is it the public they're dealing with, or is it boredom?
Mm,
The boredom can play just as much as um, being very active. Boredom can be also another negative if they don't know how or find ways to occupy their time. So then they start thinking about things or what they don't like about a police department, and it becomes a behavioral issue with that. And then you got the in-betweens who are just happy to be there. So each one has a different aspect. That's a state police. Hartford, a city, is just extremely busy. Yeah, you have 24, 25 calls holding for each officer coming out of roll call. They're coming out and they're already stressed before they even go out on the road.
yeah.
They know they have sheets and sheets of calls to clear. So now imagine a call that's been holding for 3 hours and they get there for the first time and now they're being berated by the person because that person's been waiting 3 to 4 hours and where's a cop when I need one?
Mm,
So they're taking that and then having to be able to communicate with that person, calm them down. That can be a toll too.
right.
And then you go to other towns that were not that active. And I spoke about with the state police, but like my town is it's active but not much. But what's the end game? My end game here is get out of your cruisers, community policing at its best. Get out, interact with the community, let them see you. If it's on a bike, if it's in your cruiser, get out, walk around, let them know you're there. Be visible, do some motor vehicle activity, and then the community appreciates you. And the biggest thing is getting the community on your side.
Mm,
And when they're on your side, then that's half the battle.
yeah. We've talked about this in the podcast before, but I'm sure you've heard the expression of control the controllable. And some of the things that you just talked about, you might not be able to control that. You might not be able to control how many calls for service you get in any given shift, whether you're at a really busy agency or a really slow one. But you can, I think this goes back to what you were talking about before about building the culture and getting to know your people and making sure that they have the things that they need to be successful, because you can't control a lot of the things outside of the walls of your organization. But if inside the organization is also stressful and the culture is broken and unhealthy, that's going to compound on the stress that they're seeing out on the streets. So having, that ability to control the controllable and to work within reducing and managing stressors within the organization so that when they do go out and they do community policing and they are interacting with the community, that they're set up for success because they can't control the other things.
No, they can't.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about earlier, you said the things that you guys are doing and the efforts that you're making in leadership development and how that has impacted your retention and your recruitment. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So when I first got here, the biggest thing, we have to develop our personnel. You have to. The old adage, and this is one thing I didn't like about as a young trooper coming up, was the old adage is the more I know, the more I keep close to my chest, the more I share, the more important I am, which means that I'm not expendable. What you're failing to do is to train your successors. So, i.e., with COVID, when COVID hit and we had all these movements, and what we saw was a huge vacuum from the police departments. Everyone was retiring. And what went with those retirements? All that institutional knowledge. That is a problem because now we have to go back and try to figure out how do you recreate that? How do you reinvent that? Well, that's impossible when you have somebody who has 20 some odd years in a department that has done criminal work or administrative work or both, all the above, and saying, well, how do I give that knowledge to someone who's coming up and coming, who has pretty much 5 years on? Because we are dealing with a young police department. So it starts at the top. Uh, I was fortunate to attend the University of Louisville Southern Police Institute. I was a part of the 145th Administrative Officers course. It's equivalent to the FBI National Academy. Here lies the problem with the FBI NA. It's very few seats. So everyone's fighting to get in there. SPI, the University of Louisville, it's part of their master's program. It's part of their curriculum, but it's a command level course. So I was able to go to that when I was at Hartford PD. And you spend 3 months there, you live on campus. It's a lot of writing, it's a lot of research. It's grueling, but it gets you prepared to sit in the seat. So what I learned from there, and when I came here, I made it the point to say, hey, if you want to be a part of my command staff, you have to attend the University of Louisville. I don't have time to wait for the FBI NA. I need you to be prepared to take the next step. I have a command staff that consists of a deputy chief and 4 lieutenants. My goal is to make sure that each one of them can replace me if I were to leave. So it's a seamless transition. Again, giving back that knowledge. So they all agreed to it. So in the 4.5 years I've been here, I've sent 6 commanders through the University of Louisville Southern Police Institute. They've all got their graduate certificates in police executive leadership development, which I have mine in from the University of Louisville. So I say 6 because if you add it up right now, if you say, well, chief, you only have 5 people in your command. Well, I had one who retired after graduating from there, and now he is a deputy chief at another police department. So that's succession planning, that redundancy. But it doesn't stop there, because then we brought a portion of their curriculum from University of Louisville, which is CODC, the Command Officer Development course. It was 8 weeks over a 4-month period, which we hosted here. And I started putting my sergeants through it. It starts opening their eyes to what we're doing, how we want to run this department. That transparency, that external, internal legitimacy, procedural justice. And on top of that, we are an FBI LEDA Trilogy recognized department. My entire command staff, to include myself, have been through the FBI LEDA Trilogy courses, which is supervisor, command, and executive level. So I'm all about education, learning, and practice. And what I also do is I rotate my lieutenants every year. There's 4 divisions, and I want to get them well-rounded in the department, so I rotate them. They don't like it. No one likes it because just when they just get comfortable, I upend them and I put them into a new division. But that keeps their minds open, keeps them fresh, ready to go, and it gets them to learn every aspect of the agency. Once again. So if I were to leave, I know that one of them can run this department flawlessly and not have to worry about the town or the town manager saying who we're going to replace the chief with. You have them here. They're internal. I'm developing them. And to actually, we're actually developing each other because it's opening their minds and they're giving me ideas. I have one that's extremely tech savvy who comes and says, hey, let's try this. Let's try that. And we do it. No idea is a bad idea. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We just stop doing it. But you just can't say no because you'll never move forward. So we try to do that here. And then the same thing with the officers, the detectives. Any training we can get them, we'll do it, if we can afford it. I mean, obviously there's a cost associated with everything, especially overtime, budgetary. So we got to be strategic with it. But we develop our personnel, we get the buy-in, like I said the earlier, and the word spreads. But that's the reason why we're fully staffed and we have no vacancies.
Hmm. Thank you. I actually want to do one shout out, and then I know, Jess, you're going to have some follow-up questions. I can see your wheels turning, but I'll do a shout out because he said that this is the first time that you've been fully staffed in the last 16 years.
Correct.
Wow,
First time.
that's great. Thank you.
I mean, what have you observed? And I doubt there's any one thing, but if you could say a couple things maybe that you've observed that has led to people staying with an agency long term.
Well, that's the trick. How do you get them to stay?
Mhm.
And unfortunately, today's day and age, you can't. And then you're saying, well, you got them, chief. Well, I got them because they're young. But what's the incentive to keep for an officer to stay at a police department? When I was with the Connecticut State Police, the incentive was that once I was 20 and out, which means 20 years and I can retire. So I knew that the day I hit 20 years at the Connecticut State Police, they're on probation. I can leave whenever I wanted to. But their incentive was that, hey, if you stayed every year after the 20 years, you would get a 2% added to your pension. So if someone stayed, instead of getting 50% at 20, you stayed 25, you were at 60, right? 30, you were at 70% of your pay. So that's an incentive. A lot of police departments have gone away from that. That's one. Two, the healthcare benefits you have to look at, the retirement packages. So what is it to get them to stay? For us, and I promote it all the time, we are one of the few departments in the state of Connecticut that still has a pension. We're one of the few departments in the state of Connecticut that has a COLA associated with their pension, which is a cost of living increase every year.
Mm.
And we're one of the few departments in the state of Connecticut that has a great healthcare plan, that the portion of it so stays with them when they retire. So that's the incentive to come here. But it's also 25 and out now. It's no longer 20, like most police departments are going to. A lot of police departments have that health savings system accounts or 401k. So I can market our department. And plus, we have one of the lowest crime rates and the community loves us. So who would not want to be a police officer in the town of Wethersfield, Connecticut? You got a community that loves you, you're paid very well, you got good benefits, and it's a great place to work.
How do you think that wellness plays a role into agency success and retention?
It's huge. Without wellness, we've shifted the mindset in policing. Before the past thought was, well, I can't speak out and say I have an issue.
Mhm.
This new generation and that's coming up, they talk, and you want them to talk. And it's not just what they've seen or what they're going through, but that's why we have a wellness room here. I spoke about the gym, but we do have a separate wellness room here where there's a recliner in there. There's a sound machine. You can secure it. You can sign up for the room at half-hour blocks during the shifts if you want. Sit in there just to decompress, gather your thoughts, or even eat lunch or whatever you want to do to get you just recentered, I would say. We also have the gym, like I mentioned earlier, with the bikes, the treadmills, the weights, whatever you're looking to do, wind bikes, to get yourself healthy physically. And we have the EAP program, individuals who a peer support program where they can talk to each other and it's confidential and I don't know anything about it, but they are reaching out if they need so. So we try to touch we have a team that 3 individuals who do our peer support group, and we put out a monthly newsletter here for wellness, tip lines, things of that nature, highlights whose birthday it is, whose anniversary it is, thoughts of the month. So they do a great job of doing that and communicating with each other and make sure that we each one has some type of support, just in case they need it.
We'll ask our final question for you, Chief. If you could go back in time and you could speak to your younger self, brand new on the job, but have all of the knowledge and experience that you have today, what words of wisdom would you share?
Oh, you ready?
Ready?
There's a lot. There's a lot. The day you get hired is the day you start planning to retire. They might say, like, well, why do you want to run away from the job? No, You're not running away. Invest in yourself while you're here for the time period. Open up a 457B deferred comp or invest in a 401k. Start putting money into that to help set you up for retirement. Take advantage of the opportunities you're given. Training. Make yourself well-rounded. Take advantage of the other opportunities to be able to go to specialized units and develop yourself professionally. So do it through education, through financially, through opportunities for experience. So that way when the day comes, and have fun, most of all, have fun. Because when the day comes, it comes quick. We started this conversation with me saying, like, today is June 3rd. June 6th, I've reached 30 years. And I still feel like I started yesterday because I had fun. You have fun. There's going to be ups and downs along the way. Don't get me wrong. You're going to see things. You're going to hear things. You're going to be frustrated by things. You might even get in trouble along the way. That's part of doing the job. If you're not doing your job, you're not making mistakes. Learn from it. Grow from it. And then at the end of the day, when you hit that day that comes to retire, say, okay, what's my resume look like? What did I plan to do? Did I want to go to corporate America? Do I want to give back and teach? Did I go back to school and, hopefully to have a tuition reimbursement program at wherever they work? Take advantage of that. Go back to school, get your master's, get your doctorate. I don't know. Go back and teach and give back to the next generation, or take your investigative skills you learned in, internal affairs or major crime and go to corporate America and do internal investigations. There's a whole host of things to do out in this world, but you have to start thinking the day you get hired to retire. That's what I would tell my younger self, because I waited. I didn't go back to get my master's until I got it in 2011. Think about that. I graduated college in 94. So going back, I was like writing papers, doing research, writing a thesis. I'm like, this is, and another fun fact for you that I didn't tell you that you'll find out is that I'm currently enrolled in a doctoral program at St. Leo University in Florida. So I'm actually right now, I practice what I preach. So I'm trying, I'm a doctoral student. I'm not a candidate yet because I haven't started my dissertation, and that's for me to say, okay, again, what am I planning for now? I'm planning for when I retire from here so I could go back to university and teach and take that 30 plus years of experience and now give it to that young teenager saying, hey, start planning the day you get hired. Start planning to retire.
I love it. Thank you so much. And I think that we can all agree that we all wish that we were more proactive with our future when we were younger. And I think there were plenty of people who told us to do that, and we didn't listen when we were younger. So anyone who's young and listening, listen to us. I'm going to put this in quotes, but us older people, because we know what we're talking about, being proactive with your future. And I had another chief call it retirement training. And I liked that. Well,
Education and knowledge is the one thing that no one can take away from you.
100%. They cannot take away what you've learned.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much for your time and coming on here and speaking to us today about leadership and wellness. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. I truly appreciate the opportunity.
Of course.